Greetings, dear friend. I'm here again to talk to you about Jesus Christ. This broadcast comes to you from Dallas, Texas. I'm in Dallas right now, sitting in my office. And I do nothing but talk about Christ because He's the glue to everything. He's the atom. I'd like to help every one of you that I possibly could. If you don't get from what I say here points that ought to become real to you, write me, email me. You're on our webpage, so you can find out how to do that. And I'll send you whatever you need to help you. Because I've written many books. I have many messages on this subject, which I'd happily sell, not sell, but give to you. I wanted to make that point. Happily, not to sell, but to give to you. So give me a ring when you get a chance. Give me an email. I want to help you along the journey. Take your Bible, if you will. We're studying in Romans chapter 7, and we've reached verse 4, which the last line in it says, we should bring forth fruit unto God. We should bring forth fruit unto God. That's what God wanted. What did He want? He wanted fruit producers. Now, how do you get good fruit? Comes from a good vine. The vine must come from a healthy tree, the big base of it. Two things necessary for you to have proper fruit in your life. One, you must know what God is doing. If you don't know what God's doing, you're lost. You're lost because you'll never fit all the problems and trials and events of your life in place as your life until you know what God is doing. That's number one. Number two, you need to know what Jesus Christ has done. What He has done. His finished work is what puts it all together and makes it work in you and I. The gospel is not what God will do. There is no prophecy to the born again. They have no prophecies working for them. They got one thing they're looking for, and that's a rapture. But they have no prophecies. We're not a prophetic type people. We're a people who are left on this earth to tell others about Jesus Christ. That's our main mission. Tell them about Jesus Christ. And if they don't come to know and see Jesus Christ, it'll be our fault. I can't get everybody saved, but I can tell everybody what a Christian is. They need to know that. They need to know that God doesn't have 1,000 different churches. They need to know that God doesn't have thousands of beliefs go way beyond this book. They need to know that. They need to know there's one church in the Scriptures, and it is called a Christian church over Antioch. Paul and Silas and Barnabas spent 2 years there teaching the people what a Christian was. We need to read what he taught. We need to read what God gave him from the mouth of Jesus Christ, who was now seated at the throne of God in heaven. They need to hear what God said to Jesus and what Jesus said to Paul. Because if you don't get that message, you won't have the last message in the book. You won't know it. I love this book. I love every part of it. I believe God moved in Genesis through Revelation. But that's not for me. I believe it. I know it happened. I know it's real. I know God said it. But He didn't tell me to do anything about it. He didn't tell me to be an Old Testament saint. He didn't tell me to be looking for prophecies on every hand trying to prove that God is right. Don't have to do that. When Jesus died on the cross, He fixed one thing very important. He fixed it with the Father. I am the life of this new creature. The Christ life. He is the life of this new creature. That's what the gospel and the Bible is all about. Christ becoming who he is in God's plan. In God's plan. That's what's important. I can talk on and on, but let's go back to the scriptures here, to verse 5. For when we were in the flesh, we were in the flesh. What is flesh? Flesh, number one, is when the part of you says, this is really good. This is really great. I got a hold of something. I'm really somebody. When you begin to talk like that, you've got I-itis. You're bigger than anything God can give you. Not that he doesn't have the power to do anything on this earth to anybody on this earth, but that he won't mess around and fool with people who still want to be an I. A big I. No, sir. He's not going to deal with that anymore. Why doesn't he want to deal with that? It's simple. His only begotten Son, hanged on a cross, bore every sin, shed his blood, fixed it so that the human race could come into a new life, another life altogether. That's sort of where our verse is leading us. For when we were in the flesh, if you haven't seen yourself at the cross, you're still in the flesh. Did I say that? Oh, let me say that again. If you didn't see your salvation in the cross, your salvation, you're still in the flesh. You're not saved. Oh, but preacher, you don't know what I did. I did everything the church asked me to do. The church can't save you. Somebody said, well, I've been in touch with Brother so-and-so on television, and he tells me just what to do for my Christian life. He can't do that. If he preaches the Word, he'll tell you what the Word says, and the thing for you to do is to get in the Word. I'm not asking you to discern the whole body or the whole body of Scripture. I'm not asking you to start in Genesis and get an understanding of all of it. God's not talking to you there anyhow. Jesus of Nazareth come to live on this earth, and he didn't talk to you and I. In fact, he preached the law. But when he died on the cross, he said something big and powerful to me. I was in him. I was in his body. I was in his body. And when his body died, my sin died. My shame died. The works of the devil I'd done died. My past died. Now, I didn't die as a human because that's what God wanted. He wanted humans who had Christ in them. Some people come up to me and say, well, when I got saved, didn't I have Christ in me? Not till God reveals it to you. Or somebody says, I always thought Jesus lived in me. More than a thought, you can know. You can know. It's what Paul called revelation. You can know. He prayed for every believer to have a revelation of Jesus Christ. Because they would just go on. They'd join the church, get saved, and start feeling a little better about themselves. Made other people think they were Christians. But they never prayed that prayer. They never prayed that prayer. God, reveal to me this Christ that lives in me. He didn't say, I'll reveal to you the Christ that's been walking with you all these years. I'll reveal to you the Lord who has been your healer, the Lord who has been your protector, the Lord who has done this and done that. That's okay. He does work like that, but that's not what he does to a Christian. What does he do then to a Christian? He comes to live in them, and that pushes out the devil and the old life, the old nature. Pushes it out. There's no room for it anymore. Christ is my life. Christ lives in me. That's the gospel. That's the only gospel left in the book for human beings. That's the place God's talking to us. There are very few occasions, if any, in these last days that God talks to a group of people. He talks only to his children whom he birthed. You get it? He talks to me sometimes. He talks to those that are born again. He seldom ever does it in a crowd. Usually when God spoke in the scriptures, there was somebody around to hear it, and they wonder, who in the world is that? Who is that talking? My. I don't have any doubt. I have Christ living in me. I talk to him all the time. My every word is hinged on him, regardless of where I am and what I'm talking about. My every word is hinged on him. He's my life. He talks to me. But I always hear people saying, well, God told our congregation this. God told our people this or that. I've no record of God talking to a group of people anymore. He doesn't have to. His identity doesn't have to be stated by him or anybody else. It's fixed. How is it fixed? Christ lives in us. That's a radical change that so many haven't found yet. Christ lives in us. He's not out there somewhere. God doesn't have to identify himself, and he doesn't have to identify his Son anymore. It's human beings whose identity has become Christ that identifies Christ to the world, to a lost and dying world. That's what human beings are for. That's why Jesus didn't come back and try to start all over this dispensation of grace and start it off right, start it off just perfect. You know what he did? He did come back into this world through believers. He lives in believers. Paul said, he lives in me. And my old life never lives again. Shouldn't have said it like that. My old life, even with the knowledge that Christ lives in me, will surface here and there, much to his disgust, because I should have the mind of Christ, and I should not bring up something out of the past that bedims the glory of the Christ that lives in me. See, I carry on a relationship with Jesus Christ. I want to get to the place that every word I say, in business, wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I want to get to the place that every word I speak is Christ's words. It's Christ. It's Christ. I don't want to act like an ordinary human. I don't want to act like somebody down and out all the time and grumpy and in great torment over something. I don't want to be like that. I got Christ living in me. He lives in me. He's my joy. He's my peace. He's my everlasting life. He's my everything. For me to leave that and go back to my old way of thinking, I'm a fool. I'm an ignorant fool if I do that. He either lives in me and he don't. The Bible is either true or it's not. You can change it around. You can say, well, that's not really what it means. You tell me what it means. You tell me when Paul wrote, I'm crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live. You get it? Be careful here. He said, nevertheless I'm alive. I've been crucified, but I'm alive. Yet not I. Strongest three-letter word in the universe. Yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Where you want to take that? You want to say there are places he lives and places he don't. You want to say there's things I do that I don't want him messing with. then you're no voucher with God. You're no help to God's plan, because he took Christ out of this world and returned Christ's Spirit to every believing sinner so that he would have another voice on this earth that would be far greater in number than just one Jesus down here. That's what he wanted. He's had a hard time getting it because there's not the yet not I working. Yet not I. Christ liveth in me. Gotta go. My time is up. God love you till we meet.